The time is 4:30 p.m. The Pelican Rapids City Council meeting of 8 July 2025 is called to order. I'd ask those in our chamber council, if you have not signed in on the clipboard by the back door, if you'd please do so before you leave this evening. And also, everyone, please put their cell phones on vibrate. Roll call of members. Danielle?
Councilmember Steve Strand.
Here.
Councilmember Shelley Dunn.
Here.
Councilmember Kurt Markgraf.
Here.
Councilmember Don Perry is absent today, and Mayor Brent Frazier.
Here. I want to welcome each and every one of you this afternoon to City Council chambers, also those joining us by Zoom. Please remember our City Council meetings are on the Pelican Rapids YouTube channel as well on Channel 14 on Wednesday evenings. Just a few announcements for the next 3 weeks till we have our next City Council meeting. This week is very busy here in Pelican Rapids with Pelican Fest festivities. It all kicks off on Thursday evening at 5:30 to 7:30, music in the park at E.L. Peterson Park. And then there's many activities slated for Friday and Saturday, 11th and 12th of July. And if you're not sure of what they are, please check the Pelican Press for full details. And our next City Council meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, July 29th, 4:30 p.m. here in the City Council chambers. Any other announcements? Any other announcements? Hearing none, if we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 2 is citizens' comment. Anyone here in the audience want to speak to citizens' comments if you are not part of the agenda? Anyone? Seeing none. Item number 3 is additions and deletions. I just have one addition under item number 9, a CDA update. Another bullet point is music in the park update. That's on item number 9, music in the park update. That's the only other addition I have. Any other additions or deletions? Any others? Seeing none.
I move to approve with the addition of music in the park.
Second?
Second.
Motion second. Discussion? 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 Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Item number 4 is approval of consent agenda. Item number 4A is approval of council meeting minutes from June 24th, 2025. 4B, approval of accounts payable listing. 4C1 is a police report, which was in your packet. 4C2 is a library report, which was on your desk here this afternoon. 4D is cigarette license 2025, Orton's Pelican Rapids Senex, Frank Orton. 4E is 3.2% malt liquor license 2025 to 2026, Orton's Pelican Rapids Senex, Frank Orton. Item 4F is intent to certify to taxes. Item number 1 is 604 Old Fergus Road, parcel number R76009903430000, and the amount due is $980 unpaid for fire department invoice. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion second. Discussion? 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 Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We'll go down to item number 5. We have a guest speaker with us here this evening. Maplewood State Park Manager Bill Anderson, who just recently was appointed to that position. Well, there was a story about Bill in the Pelican Rapids Press recently, and Bill, glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Good to be here. Like I said, I'm relatively new, been here at Maplewood for a few months now. I remember my dad, who was county board chairman back in the day, and he would always come home and say, there's some young DNR guy that thinks he knows everything that got up and spoke in front of us today. And and oftentimes he was right. I am no longer young, but I do work for the DNR, so I understand and appreciate some sentiments of dealing with us for different things as it goes. But I put in 20 years as a state park guy. starting his education as a naturalist and leading tour groups and school groups, moving into management and then into St. Paul, doing my time as a bureaucrat, and then took a few years off with a software company, and then my wife and I ran a restaurant for the last 6 years. And no, we're not going to open one here in Otter Tail County. She was very emphatic about that. So now I'm back I'm the fourth manager at Maplewood since 1963. I'm the fourth one, so the job doesn't come open very often. So when it did, I had to take it. We have a daughter that will finish out her senior year in Fergus. We let her choose what town because we were uprooting her for her senior year. So that's kind of my background. Like I said, my dad was in local government and former county township chairman for 30 years. And so I've been around that and chose not to do that, at least not yet in my life. We'll see. But just wanted to introduce myself and welcome any questions you have for me or opportunities for doing things together and partnering together. One of my first responsibilities that I've set upon myself is to come up with a vision for the park. There's a master plan, but that was done in the 70s and updated a little bit in the 90s. So I'm trying to put together that vision, and now with the bike trail, opportune time, that I think the county will say that is complete at the end of this week. The guys are in the park for the last segment. Seeding was done today, signs will go in a few days, and then we will have a completed trail for the Heart of the Lakes. So I met with a vendor this morning about having bike rentals in the park, so there's opportunities to talk about that, where they should be. Should there be some in Pelican? Should there be some in the park? What I don't want is people just to pop up on the side of the road with rentals, and all of a sudden we're inundated with people that have, we don't have control of it, either you or us or somebody. Can't control. So met with the folks that do the rentals down at Glendalough State Park today, but if you're aware of any others that might want to pursue that opportunity, have them contact me. Also looking at a visitor center in the park at some point in time. That's been talked about. Like the trail's been talked about for 25 years, but now it's done. At some point it'll be done. I'm hoping that'll be under my tenure. I'm calling it a welcome center. The Maplewood Hardwood Hills Welcome Center at Maplewood State Park is the name of it, even though it's very conceptual at this point. But a meeting with the county again next week to talk about opportunities for partnering, where their facility is going to go, where should we have facilities, is there opportunity for partnering on some of those things and doing it as an overall thing. So same opportunity here for Pelican, what things maybe are good to have at the park, maybe what good things are good to have in town that we don't have to worry about. Just opening up that conversation at this point, because I'm new and I don't know, but I know that without a plan, it can go south real fast. So, otherwise, yeah, I'm really enjoying the park. I do have experience. I worked in St. Paul, so I do know how to navigate that system fairly well. I know it's a tough, grueling, teeth gnashing to do things partner things with the DNR, as anybody that works in the DOT can sympathize with, and the county now that they've tried to build a trail in the park and succeeded, but not without its trials and tribulations. We're not an easy department to get the stuff done fast, but I've got 10 years, 12 if it takes it. So if I get things started now, we should be able to get some good things done in the next decade. So that's my introduction.
We're glad to have you here. Pelican Rapids has always been known as the gateway to Maplewood State Park, and we do see a lot of the campers from the overflow from Maplewood State Park come to Pelican and camp at Sharon Park. And are you full this summer yet, or don't you know at this point?
Always, yeah.
Always full? Okay.
So yeah, I'm stirring the pot a lot. We have a horse campground that horses don't like deer flies season, and so I have an empty campground that I'm going to try to utilize, because as many people as I can, there's still going to be overflow to you. That's an extra 20 more sites that could be utilized, but we just don't have the methodology to do it. So stirring that pot a little bit, just looking for opportunities.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That restaurant is a final decision?
Well, you can talk to my wife, but if you're asking me, it's a no.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, item number 6 is MnDOT tree planting plan, and that was in your packet. We have Tom Pace here from Region 4 office in Detroit Lakes, and Tom is going to go over this slide presentation. Welcome to see you again, Tom.
Yeah, welcome.
It's been a while.
Yeah, a little bit of a long time.
I know.
Yeah, the new faces on the board, so. Thank you. Well, thank you, Mayor and City Council, for letting me come back and visit with you again. This is another, I guess, installment of our big, Pelican Rapids project. Year number 2 of construction, so now we're getting close to wrapping that up. Now we'll move into the tree planting portion. If you remember, that was in the plan at one time, but then we pulled it out of the plan, and we're gonna have a separate tree planting contract, separate from the big project. And so what we're looking at now doing is planting these trees this fall. So after the road project is completed on 59, then we'll be coming here probably October, and we'll spend the month of October planting these trees. So in your packets, we have our tree planting plan as well as the species that we got laid out along the corridor. Hopefully we get a chance to look at those. What we kind of chose is some of the robust, bigger trees for the residential, not downtown piece, sugar maples, coffee trees. Some of those larger ones will be on the edges of town. And then right down corridor, we chose some skinnier, slower growing trees that don't take up so much space. Some maples and crab apples down there. We try to choose trees that will be kind of more red and orange in the fall with their leaves, so it makes it kind of a more scenic appeal for the downtown corridor. So, yeah, I guess we're looking at probably 113 different trees going in the tree grades to see downtown, as well as along 59 in places in the grass, all the way up to County 9 pretty much, is where we're looking at our limits. So I guess come to you to see if you had any questions, comments, suggestions, anything that if you want to see changed, now is the time to say it, so I can make some tweaks. Otherwise, we're probably going to proceed with this tree planting plan this fall. More notes on the thing, it's, MnDOT's going to pay for the trees this time, and then there's going to be a 1-year warranty on these, so all of 2027, our contractor will water and maintain them. But then after that, it'll be the city's responsibility to water and maintain, starting in the spring of 2028. So by the time we're done, they should be nice and growing. I'm coming in, they're going to be about 5 to 6 feet tall, 1.5 to 2 inches in diameter. So that's the height they'll come in at in a few months. So.
And they'll all be planted this fall?
Yep. I'll plant it this fall. Yep, stuck in the tree grades downtown, and then, like I say, up in the grassy boulevards going up to on 59, and some on 108 west. There are none going on 108 east. We didn't have room for any trees going that direction because it's too narrow. But the other places we are able to get them in.
Right. Council have any questions for Tom?
Tom, the plastic grating, whatever you call it,
Yeah.
is that temporary?
Well, they are going to be. Yeah, they were supposed to be, but yeah, they failed. So. Yeah, so they're going to be replaced with metal grates. I'm not sure what size they're going to be, but they're going to be smaller metal grates going in there, and then we'll bring in both concrete on the edges. So,
Flush then, right?
Yeah, flush. The ones out there now, they're 5 by 10 plastic grates, and they were a failure. So I want to replace those with metal ones and make them smaller, so we don't need 10-foot grates out there. They're really expensive. Oh my, crazy expensive. So you're probably looking about 8 to 10 grand for one grate for a 5 by 10 metal grates. We're going to make those smaller. So yeah, they're expensive. So yeah, good question, but that'll be fixed this summer as well. So.
Any other questions? Brian, did you have anything at this point?
Brian loves trees. He wants more trees.
I'm very concerned about maintaining them after it's done. That's 113 trees for 4 guys. That's a lot. I will say that.
Yep. Yeah, we are putting, that soil in there, so they should be good fertilized, special soil, and a mulch on them. So once they're established, they should grow pretty well. No guarantees, but they should.
Bags. 3 bags.
Yeah, you know how much they are?
I know a guy.
We put in some introductory stuff for these outlets downtown. In your recommendation, would it be best to get those outlets in before you plant them or after?
I would say probably after. Otherwise, they might be dug up during installation. So, yeah, that'd be my recommendation. So. Good question.
Any other questions for Tom?
Too easy. That beat me up a little bit. I'm kind of used to getting beat up a little bit.
You're right.
Yeah,
Well, I appreciate you being here, Tom.
thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Any questions, give me a call. I'll come back
Okay.
again, so.
Okay, thank you
guys.
kindly. Let's go item number 7, Pelican Valley Health Center. We have Tyler here from Pelican Valley, and he's going to present a plan. Lance, did you have anything to say before Tyler introduces this?
Well, just so things didn't get into the packet because I got up late, but I did hand out these, there's 2 different agreements here, and one is a temporary and one is a permanent. So I guess Tyler can kind of explain what he's looking for, and we can go from there.
Sounds good. And I should start by, hopefully, you didn't save the beating up for the next guy. I appreciate you having me here. My name's Tyler Rolfe. I'm the Executive Director for Pelican Valley Senior Living. And like Lance said, I apologize, we didn't quite get them in the packet to him, so we chatted a little bit before. If there's no decision tonight, it's not a big problem. I'm happy to research or get any answers you guys might have and come back next meeting as well. So. But wanted to talk a little bit about and propose really 2 different items. One is, like Lance said, a permanent parking easement, and that's one document that you have, and then the second is a temporary construction easement. So to kind of give a little bit of background, so we are very close to, right now we're waiting on approval for the permit for doing we call phase 1 of our construction project at Pelican Valley Senior Living. We're currently remodeling, or going to be remodeling, the old hospital building to have 8 resident rooms in that location. So when we do phase 2 of the project, which is the blue building there, blue section, that's considered phase 2, which is a complete demo and rebuild. We will have an area we can relocate 8 of our residents to then the old hospital building. And so the remodel itself, we're already a little behind schedule, of course, waiting on that permit from the state, but we're still doing what we can, and part of that is to start to come here and propose then these 2 construction easements. And so really, the area I'm referring to is everything kind of which is the city property, but we're looking at the red area, the dotted area, is what we're tentatively identifying as our construction site, which does include, of course, then those 2, the city property there just north of the pool. The first easement is the permanent construction easement, which is the permanent parking easement, excuse me. So that is in the easement itself. So we did have this surveyed, and we had our legal attorney draft up the easement requests based on the information from the official survey. And basically what it is stating is that in some of the details of the easement itself is that Pelican Valley will be responsible for constructing and installing the parking lot that you see here on the screen. Total of 24 parking stalls included in there. And so we'll be responsible for constructing, installing, we'll take care of the costs for all of that. We will also be responsible for snow removal because we do want to utilize this year-round for our residents, our visitors, and our staff members in this parking lot here. We do ask that the city is responsible for ongoing maintenance and repair, like crack sealing, and that's about, Brian knows, but that's about striping, thank you. Striping as well, ongoing. Beyond then the initial construction, of course. As I mentioned, the parking lot consists of 24 stalls. We are requesting the ability to place stakes or some sort, identify 8 of those stalls to be reserved for Pelican Valley residents, families, and or staff members in those stalls.
Those would be closest to your facility, I assume?
Yeah, so we're flexible on it. We have talked about, the 4 that are the closest to our building.
Yeah.
All other stalls, so the remaining 16 stalls would be available for public use, whether it's the park or the pool, absolutely available for public use. It may be, in the event we have special events at our facility, and we have a handful, so it might be our visitors and guests as well, but it really would be open to the public, so whoever would first come, first serve. Yep. Estimated timeline for completion on this is, again, as everything gets pushed back and moved, we are looking at late summer to early fall of next year of 2026, as far as when it would be fully constructed and usable. We don't really see a good reason to do it before early next year, when we're trying to also do construction, run heavy equipment on that's in this area, and and potentially tear it up or cause an issue. So we want to do it after the project is complete as sort of one of the final things. We're also going to be doing a mill and overlay of our own parking lot, just knowing that it's going to get beat up and all that from equipment. So, any questions on this and this parking lot easement, permanent parking lot easement?
No, were you looking for one motion tonight on one of these or not?
If I can get motions on both, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's whatever you guys are comfortable with. Honest, and I can come back next meeting.
So
And
you aren't on a time squeeze here because our next city council meeting isn't for 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
If we were to move on anything tonight, the temporary construction would probably be
Okay.
the most ideal, because we could start to get some storage and set up, and I could talk about that next. If that's possible, but again, understandable if neither are. I'm happy to come back at the next one.
I have a question.
Yes.
A couple of them. So, I know you're saying this is open to the public, reserve aid. We all know that staff over there fills Trinity. So what's going to prevent that?
Yeah, I mean,
If this is going to be public, or is it going to
Sure.
be mainly for nursing home staff and visitors and residents?
Yeah,
Because then it doesn't,
good question. So we don't fill Trinity, but we have probably, what do we think, 20 vehicles potentially at a high volume time, kind of in the corner of Trinity. But that'll be us policing it and managing that, and that is the expectation, is that it is reserved for public. We want to, we have a need for this parking lot because we're going to lose some of our parking spaces that we currently have today, based from this construction we're doing. And, but we know, we want to provide that to the community also. The pool needs it, that was part of the original plans, I believe, and we just want to be able to provide that as well, so. But we will manage that, and if it's an issue, we'll have to, we have ways to enforce it as well.
Sure.
Yep.
and then back on the construction zone
Yeah.
area, you pretty much had it all fenced off, so I'm assuming like the residents that have vehicles now will have to park elsewhere?
Correct,
Is that
yeah.
what your plan is? Okay.
Yeah, so based on that design, and we haven't, it is not final, so we haven't fully shared with everyone, but it is that everything in red will be off limits, meaning that, fenced in area that is not, just for safety wise, so. Yep.
Anything else, Brian?
Not yet.
Okay, should I move to the next one?
Yes.
The temporary.
I have one.
Oh, yeah, Steve.
Go back to the previous drawing, please. Where's the current path through there? Can you just
Yeah,
point that out?
good question. It's
For the park or where?
the
See
drive.
where we're cutting across from the church to get downtown.
The exact, it's really close to right there, yeah, right where that, looks like it's depicting a sidewalk there, is where that current path is, there, east and west. Probably a little wider than that, of course, but,
It doesn't seem that big to me right now for parking, but
Are you gonna need a handicap spot in there at all, or is it what
Yeah.
There's a certain number of stalls, and then you have to have a handicap. That's gonna
Take
take
out
up
one.
one for sure. Yeah,
one, maybe two.
maybe two, with
can't-
24.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking the lower level of the liquor store, we had to put one in, and that's only got like 8 actual stalls in there, maybe 8 or 10, and we had to have one.
I don't remember what the ADA requirement is. It's so many per so many spaces.
Exactly.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Yep.
Tyler, you mentioned you were responsible for snow removal. Will the snow have to be put on city property?
That is a Great question. If we can.
Right now, it all goes to the
Okay,
back northwest corner of Energy parking lot mostly,
Okay.
so.
okay.
We push ours in our existing lot, but it would be a lot more snow now. Just to our, yeah, kind of right towards the playground equipment there, but not on it, of course, on our property still. But it gets pretty big. We have a big hill there. It's not a lot of space, but.
You're gonna sign your spots then, Pelican Valley? So you guys would incur the cost of putting them in, but then
Correct.
so maintenance wise, are we responsible for that part?
That's the ask. Yep. I mean,
I like that.
Any more questions on this slide?
So I asked last time, but the pool committee, are they really up to date on this? And you said they're all fine with it, last time I asked.
I don't know. Is there still a pool committee?
I mean, we spent so much money and it's really devastating to see it all. The parking, I mean,
I don't see it devastating. I see it as an asset to the pool if we can actually use it, because if you go over there now, there's not a lot of room.
Right, right.
Even if Third Street, our so-called Third Street was open, there's not a lot of room, and this would open it up. It would open up Trinity's lot that they've really been abused this year with the pool activity and stuff. So I think if it stays public, I think it'll be a great asset. We actually had a parking lot in our original pool plan.
Right.
in the same location as well, right? Just right north of it?
Yep.
Yep.
Not as large, I don't think it was as big, but
It was as big as this,
Was
and
it?
then it got cut in half, and then it got removed.
then it got moved, yeah.
Okay, I guess we're ready to move on.
Sounds good. The next is the temporary construction easement, which this is, also show, this is the area that would then be just north of that, the parking lot, the remaining space there. Currently, the green space, and this is pretty straightforward. This would be for less than a year time frame for this, so would not be recorded at the county's office, is my understanding. Would not need to be recorded, so that would be the purpose of this. We would return it to its current state, so any its state as of today would return it to that. We would incur all costs for that. Would be usually utilized for storage equipment, job trailers, stuff like that, that would be in that site. So just an area to help us with little space in that area and during construction, or down below where our parking lot is, to provide some space for us. Pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward. Any questions on that?
Brian got caught this, that it doesn't really state that in there, does it, that you're gonna return it to? I know it was in your email last
Right,
week.
it doesn't, it says it has to be written prior to this being,
Parties shall agree to all installation, repair, and maintenance in writing prior to engaging in a
I didn't read it in your email, but I didn't read
Right.
it in,
Okay.
in this.
So prior to then the returning,
I think we're supposed to agree prior to signing this, the way I read it, but maybe not. I trust you will.
yeah, of course. Agree to all installation, repair, and maintenance in writing prior to engaging in any said installation, repair, or maintenance. Is that referring to next year when the time comes that we
And
agree?
that's possible.
to the-
that,
That's how I'm reading that?
Okay.
Yeah, is that prior to, so we won't just go seed it ourselves and find, you guys have to, we have to have approval that this is the potential estimate that, are you okay with this, to return it to this, yeah.
Correct.
I got a cedar at home, but.
I bet. And then my next question is, where that fence line is on
Yeah.
the south side, they're not using our pool fence as their fence, right?
No,
They're gonna move
we'll,
away.
yeah, because we would want to protect that as well, so I can make sure that
Yes.
we have separate fencing, yeah.
And
We wouldn't want to bump that or anything.
if at all, if they could use a silt or something on their fence to keep the dust from,
Okay, sure.
coming into the pool. one of the concerns I have.
Right,
We
right,
have that a little bit this summer that,
That's a good point, yeah. I don't see that being an issue, so I'll pass that on as well.
I
Yep.
just want to make sure that fence is far enough away and that.
Nothing bumps into it and we have no
Yeah.
issues. And if,
Leaves a buffer zone there.
exactly. If that ever was the case as well, we would obviously take care of what is needed. That's on us or them, but
You're waiting on permits, when do you really think you're gonna be able to get this fenced in? I mean, you gotta wait, obviously, until that temporary road isn't needed anymore, but.
yeah. So permits, we're hoping to have our permit for the construction, our remodel by end of week or early next week, which will allow us to really get things moving. We're looking at 4 to 6 weeks after that, so September 1st is when we think we'll be getting into this big project, into the big building. So by September 1st, we'd have it all fenced in. Or it would be sooner than that, but potentially middle of August. So a month, 5 weeks. Do you think, I mean, time-wise for the road and all that, is that realistic? I haven't heard the latest, but,
Should be really, really close if not, yeah.
okay. And we would make sure that that's, that's open, right? So we won't shut anything off, but, yep.
Steve?
Tyler, how will you access, supplies or trucks and whatnot? How will they get through there?
We're gonna have a gate here, right in the entryway. So they'll be able to come in and just turn, drive through. We don't wanna run anything, if we don't have to on 4th Street, we'll just use our entryway coming in. Yeah. If we don't have to, I don't know how, they may have to exit on 4th Street potentially, but we'll have a gate there that will be able to open and close, of course, for deliveries and all of that for our supplies. Yeah, it's a pretty heavy machinery will be coming in and, yeah.
Any other questions for Tyler? So your wishes are for us to pass this temporary agreement, correct?
Yes.
Council?
Lance sees no issue with doing this?
Been pretty good neighbors so far, so.
So I move to approve the temporary.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Discussion? 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 Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. The other one, you have time, you can come back on this one so we can read and study this through a little bit more?
Yeah, if there's anything you want changed or us
Okay.
to look into, I'm happy
Okay,
to.
we'll put you on the agenda for our next meeting
Meeting,
then.
sounds great.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you all,
Tyler.
appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Let's jump down to item number 9, CETA update. We have our Economic Development Director, Jordan Grossman, and the bullet points are art grant introduction. Under that, she has banners, pool building. Outdoor recreation grant is another bullet point, work plan update, and then also music in the park. And I believe you want just one motion to cover all this
Make
evening?
it simple.
Okay.
Yep, one motion for all of it.
Okay, take it
All
away.
right, on to the fun stuff, yes. Good evening. Quick updates, art grant introduction. I have talked to you about this previously. Retho Springboard for the Arts and West Central Initiative had a spring grant cycle open to their region, West Central Initiative's region, which is 9 counties, to bring art downtown in multiple different ways. They awarded 2 communities. Pelican Rapids was awarded, and so was Frazee. So I have been working with a group, Dawn is in my planning approval group, myself, Joni Ellison, Annette Albright have been working together to receive applications from artists within the community or who have ties to the community. And they are eligible to receive up to $1,500 of funding for whatever art initiative they'd like to bring to our downtown as an economic development stimulator, really. So I am behind the ball on these, especially the banners. I don't know if you noticed, but the banners are up in town. So I think I'll start there. Kate Martinez worked, I believe, with the Parks Committee, mentioned to the Parks Committee that she put a proposal together to bring banners downtown. She worked with local students. I believe there's 42 banners, and they're going to be hung up where the state will allow them on the new downtown posts, with the light posts. There was some miscommunication somewhere along the line about size of the banners. So she did get a $1,500 grant for banners that don't fit the light posts. So here's your introduction to the banners, and also looking for $1,500 for the current banners that are up and the right size. The plan with the ones that are the wrong size is to give them as a gift to the students that through Pelican Fest these next few days, whose art was selected to be hung up. Also, as this is an initiative, I would like the EDA to continue in following years without the grant from the 3 entities, because I think it's gone over really well and kept people talking about downtown and the fun little pop-up art scenes that have been happening. I will pause for questions after the next one. Micah Kvitt, great local guy, has put a proposal together for the pool building. He is working with parents and getting all of the waivers necessary to take pictures of kids in the pool underwater in our new pool and have those hung up at the new pool building with your approval. So those are the 2 I wanted to update you on because they're affecting city property. I will stop there to see if you have any questions on either of those 2 things.
Questions?
Great. Okay. Well, that's okay. Outdoor recreation grant. I would like to preface this by we had a very great year last year with grants. I think we pulled in, I'd have to look back, but a little over $1 million in grants. That was very successful. So it is unfortunate to tell you my application for the outdoor recreation grant program was not selected this year. There was over $12 million in requests and a little over $4 million for funding. And I only know of 2 seated communities who were awarded. So I think the funding gap, along with the fact that Pelican has been awarded out of this program twice in the last 5 to 10 years, probably had some impact on that. Could be something else as well. So I did reach out for input to see what they have to say so we can better prepare ourselves to reapply if that's what you'd like to do the next round. And then work plan update is actually a slide here. This was the paper I received with, not all of the same faces when CETA started working with the community. A list of things that you would like the CETA to start working on. Yellow highlighted is something that I've really crossed off in my head I feel confident about is happening or is in the process. And green is partial. So for example, 18 is expand and enhance recreational opportunities. I have been working with a group of pickleball players to identify a place for pickleball courts in town. And I believe that conversation and convening of those people will continue. But that's an example. We've also looked at an outdoor gym before in Peterson Park, but not something I feel confident enough to say we've done. And then address empty buildings and lots downtown. 2 of those have been addressed. There's obviously 3 have been addressed. There's more to come, but I also called that a partial. Looking at number 9, EDA and EDC develop a team to buy, renovate, sell, or rent properties. The EDA is the team to do those things. So we have identified that we have the capability to do that when the right opportunity comes along. Number 10 is promote and better utilize historic City Hall. I did go off a little bit here and decided we should have a coffee shop. But it's a new business in town, and I call that a win. There's really not a lot of city expense going into that building anymore, when previously you were spending about $24,000 a year to have it staffed for 3 months. So I think that was a great choice overall. I just wanted to put this in front of you because this is what I received in the beginning. About halfway through it in 2 years, and have a lot of confidence in knocking out a few more and wanted to just get your perspective on anything like top of mind you'd like to add, or if you'd find it more beneficial that I add things and bring it back to you that I think should be added. And then, yeah, we can discuss that now.
You have top-of-mind ideas you'd like to see added?
Yes. Yeah. But I don't live here. I'm not a part of the tax base, so appreciate your input. But I have no problem coming back with an updated plan for your approval, if that makes better sense for you. Okay, we'll do
Okay, yeah.
the latter, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. And then, let me pull up my notes here. The addition of music in the park update. So just to refresh you, 6 music events. They were all supposed to be in Peterson Park. We had Outstate Brewing coming to the first 2. Local nonprofits are serving as a food vendor. We've had 2. They've both been in the fire hall. It's been a rainy summer, in my opinion. We have another one coming on Thursday. That will be our 3rd. Escobar's has been willing to step in as that liquor alcohol vendor. Outstate Brewing will not be returning. I would call this a benefit because they're local and they're here, and I think it's great that they want to step in and help. Work through the licensing issues with Danielle, and seems like everything's in place and ready to go for them to be fill that void, starting this Thursday potentially, but for sure the following events. So that good will still be available to people who come and listen to music, either in the park or in the fire hall.
Have you had any outside interest for food trucks come in?
Yes, I think there's interest, but I think this year the focus was on, trying to get this town that has a lot of nonprofits, tiny little nonprofits, more engaged in community action, was, asking them to fill that role, and hopefully they can go away with a little bit of profit. But I think that'll be great for us to discuss when this is all over at EDA, to see if maybe we switch up our model or incorporate more plus them. I plan to ask all of those nonprofits to do a quick survey or just chat with me afterwards to see what the process was difficult, worthwhile, etc. If more people are asking about like their vision and mission afterwards, and they're getting better community connections through it all, that's my hope, but there's definitely opportunity in the future.
Any other questions for Jordan? So what do you want this one motion to say?
We're accepting the CETA update, which would include $1,500 to Hillbilly Laser for your banners.
Is there a motion?
Is Lance okay with that $1,500?
You got the money right.
So moved.
I'll
There's-
second.
Motion second, discussion? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, music in the parks on Thursday, 5:30.
Thursday, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Item number 8, liquor store solar. We have Griffin Peck here from West Central Initiative, and also Jessica Grondal from Holson Solar out of Fargo. And we also, Maggie, the liquor store manager's in the audience here also, so if she has any comments or questions, feel free to pipe up. Griffith, take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me back again. I'll just give you a quick update of what happened since I last was here, and then I'll pass it to Jess, and then I'll talk a bit about the financing that we have available and the tax credits at the end. So when I was here last, we kind of talked about the analysis that I performed on this building and on the liquor store to think about solar and the opportunities that might exist. I'm going to pass around this, I'll just give you the stack to kind of pass here. Has the top part is that the consumption and the cost and then the rate analysis from my first time that I was here. And then all of the financial information in the solar analysis has been updated with the quote that Jess is going to present. So I'll pass it to Jess to present, and then I'll wrap it up at the end.
All right, thanks, Griffin. I'm Jess Grundle. I'm with Holson Solar. Thanks for having us here today. I also have just a detailed statement of work with a little more information on the project itself that I can pass around. Most of it's going to be on the screen anyways. But with the next slide, I just have a few introductory things about Holson Solar as a contractor. We are based in Fargo, North Dakota. We have roots in this area as well, with lake places and things like that. We do residential, commercial, agricultural installations of solar. So definitely in our wheelhouse. We've been in operation for about 7 years. I've been with the company for going on about 3 years. So, and then with the next slide, sorry, I didn't know if there was a clicker. I just had a few pictures of some of the installs we've done. The one that we're proposing for the liquor store is going to be similar to this one here with the standing seam roof with no penetrations, configured differently, but similar to that. We can go to the next slide. So this is kind of an outline. The general layout of the panels would look like that. West-facing roof, we determined it's too shaded to put panels on, so we're focusing on the south-facing and east-facing roof faces. It would be a 32.96 AC system, and so when we interconnect with the utility, that's the number they're looking for. But the solar generation is the DC side, so a 36 kilowatt system is what we would call it. It's 103 panels. They're 350 watt solar panels. They have a 40-year warranty on them. They do not qualify for domestic content, so I made a mistake on this and I don't think it got updated on the newest iteration, but they do not qualify for domestic content. So just wanted to point that out. They are rated for extreme weather. If we look at the annual generation, it's going to be about 56% of what that building is using on a yearly basis. So not gonna exceed generation. It's going to offset a little over than half. And then we can go to the next slide. Before we talk about this, I'm just going to talk a little bit more about the weather ratings for these panels and the racking and such. These panels are rated for about inch-sized hail. And anecdotally, we have experienced that as a company. We had a hailstorm, I think it was a couple of years ago, and we were out on a job site, and our work truck was totaled by hail. I mean, every window smashed, everything, and none of the panels on the job site had any damage at all. So we were able to see that, right in front of our own eyes, that yes, they're rated for hail and they actually do withstand hail. And in the 7 years of operation, we haven't replaced any panels due to hail damage. So they are very sturdy, and the racking that is mounted on is rated for about 160 mile-an-hour winds. So they are weather rated, very able to withstand our weather. This slide here talks a little bit about the impact on utility bills, and Griffin will talk more about this at the end. This really isn't relevant to your project because these numbers aren't really going to matter for your financial situation, but all things equal, like I said, it's about 50% of the consumption, so we're generating and offsetting 56%. There's not going to be any excess generation that's going to be reimbursed back from the system. And again, like I said, these numbers really aren't relevant to your situation. So we can just go to the next slide and Griffin will talk more about that. These panels have a 40-year warranty. The inverters also have a 40-year warranty. That's the best in the industry. So 40 years. The 40-year warranty covers not only if the panel dies, but even if it isn't performing as it should. So if you get to that 40-year mark and the panel is performing at less than 88.25% of what their peak power is, then it's going to be replaced for free. So they have a really excellent warranty. And the inverters as well. A typical inverter warranty in this industry is about 10 or 12 years, 10, 12 years. So 40 years is very good. Next slide. Holson Solar, we provide a free 10-year workmanship warranty. Covers the things that were, the wiring, the mounting, any defects due to installation. On here it says roof penetrations associated with sealing to prevent leaks. This installation will not have any penetrations. It's a standing seam roof. We basically just clamp onto it. Simplified explanation of that, but there are no penetrations on this installation. And so that's just covering our workmanship warranty. On the next slide, I talk a little bit about our optional operations and maintenance service. This is a yearly maintenance contract, which is more about preventative maintenance. This would include a yearly visit to clean off any sort of debris that might be affecting performance. Things like tightening any sort of, bolts or wiring, checking to make sure everything's secure. So that's what that optional maintenance service is. The price of that contract is $17 per kilowatt DC. So I believe for the first year for this system, it would be $613, and then that price increases by 3% each year. So wanted to cover that. The next one, this is covering the statement of work. So we can kind of skip through this, but this is on those sheets there. Outlines the different components of the system. We have our 103 panels, 103 inverters. The inverters are mounted underneath the panels right on the roof, so you're not going to have any additional equipment mounted outside of the building. The other thing that inverter, those microinverters gives us is the ability to monitor things at a panel level, so we can see in real time if a panel is working and how much it's generating and all of those types of things. So best type of inverter to have for this type of situation. There's going to be two separate segments. So as you saw, there's two separate roof bases. There'll be two separate segments. And then we have our annual production of close to 44 megawatts a year, which is a good size system. We provide everything fully documented, stamped engineering drawings. All of that will be turned over to you. We procure all of the equipment. It's all UL compliant, so everything meets code. And then again, I talked a little bit about the weather ratings, but these are rated for severe weather, so cold weather, hot weather, everything in between. Next slide, we do all of the installation. We do the permitting, we handle the utility interconnection with Otter Tail. And what that process looks like, we submit the interconnection application, and along with the engineering drawings, and Otter Tail will look at it and they'll approve it, or tell us if they need something changed a little bit, which shouldn't happen. And then it also includes the service panel and the fuse disconnect. So all inclusive of everything. Utility interconnection, again, we'll be in charge of taking care of that for you. There will be something that the city or whoever the owner of the interconnection is will need to sign. And then net metering will be implemented under Otter Tail's policies. So that'll be there. Towards the end of the project, we'll get it inspected by both the by electrical and building inspectors. The utility will come in, they'll do some testing to make sure everything is working the way it should and compliant with their policies. And then the system will be tied into the grid and turned on. We'll also configure the monitoring, so you'll have access to free remote monitoring, so you can look at your system and see how it's generating. Holson Solar also monitors everything that we install, so if there's an issue, we can typically see what's going on, right from our offices, and usually fix it, but sometimes we'll come out and, take a look too. I have a proposed timeline here. We would initiate permitting right away, so get our get our stamped engineering drawings and apply for the permits and also apply for the interconnection application. And then order equipment as soon as we have the go-ahead. With estimated completion date, probably sometime in August, and estimated commissioning date, that's when the utility comes in and plugs it into the system and everything's working by October 1st. So with that, I'm just gonna open it up to questions, and then next Griffin will come up and go over the financial side of things, and we can kind of go from there.
Questions, council?
How did this all begin? Like,
I can speak to that a
Yeah.
little bit. I think,
Do you want to address the microphone so those on can hear us remotely?
so this all got started when we reached out to a group of communities, actually before I was even hired. This was last spring, just to see who would be interested. I think Lance got an email and from one of our, whether it was from Cedar or from someone else at our organization, seeing if there was interest. We came out and performed site visits last summer and then performed the data analysis that is very much pared down right here that I presented at the last council meeting. Then after that meeting, you all decided to move forward with getting quotes. So that's what we have here. So we got the quote from Jess, and now we're at the point where you get to decide whether or not you want to move forward. Does that answer your question, or?
so we responded to your email, is that?
Yes. Yeah, I think Lance or maybe Brent. Well, we haven't gotten to the finances yet, so maybe we talk about that a little bit. Next slide. So, oh, you just pulled this up. Perfect. So maybe just scroll down to the solar analysis bit. So the project as proposed, as Jess presented, would have a total cost of $78,229, but there's a lot of incentives available. So the primary incentive is Pop Solar from Otter Tail Power. It is a $1,500 per kilowatt on the AC side for solar that's installed on publicly owned properties within their service territory. And so in this project, that would equate to a check to the city for $49,500. Additionally, there's the 30% investment tax credit that cities are eligible for through the direct pay program. Those credits were unaffected by the legislation that has moved its way through Congress, and so it's guaranteed that this project will qualify and get the 30%, which is an additional $23,469. That means that your total incentives would be $72,969, and the difference between the incentives would be $5,260. Now you're going to save $3,700 a year in electricity costs. So that $5,260 difference between the total price and the incentives you get back means that this array will be cash flow positive after 1 year and 5 months of operations, which means that every dollar that's saved after 1 year, 5 months is cash in the city's pocket. It's direct savings. The initial investment will have been fully paid off. Now, in terms of financing, we recognize that it's not easy to bond for these small projects, and so we developed a 0% zero interest loan from West Central Initiative to cover the upfront cost of the cities. So if you choose to move forward tonight, the city of Pelican Rapids would get a 0% interest loan for 24 months for the $78,229. Then we would work to apply for the POP rebate as well as the IRS-based tax credit with Lance. All of that money would come back to the city as checks, which would be used to pay down the loan. And then that additional $5,260 would just be the energy savings. So there would be no cash upfront from the city to do this project. And over the 40-year expected lifetime of the project, the city would save $181,104. So I think that's a pretty sweet deal. We heard about some other projects that are, have a high upfront cost and then there isn't a cash flow on them. This project is the opposite. There's no upfront cost to the community, and it saves your community $180,000 over 40 years. I think that's a pretty good deal, but if you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
These incentives we received, do you know how soon would we receive them?
So when does your fiscal year end? Important. Do you have a June 30th fiscal year?
No, first.
So you would be able to apply in next spring for when next spring's taxes are due. So you would apply in March or April, and then we've heard varying timelines. It all depends on how many invoices they're processing at any given time. At West Central Initiative, we put in a geothermal system and got a tax credit for it. We got our payment within 21 days from the IRS. I don't want to say that that's going to be the exact case here. So we're thinking anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks to get that payment from the IRS. Similarly from Otter Tail Power. We're also flexible with our loan terms. So let's say it does take longer to get that IRS tax credit back. We can extend the loan, not into perpetuity, but we can extend the loan into 36 months or 48 months at the 0% interest if needed. We also have about $250,000 in gap funding. So let's say they get in there and they find something, we need to spend $5,000 on a structure of the building. Well, we have funds to grant to the city to cover those unexpected expenses that come up. So we've tried to make this as turnkey of a process as possible for your community.
Questions? Lance, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, no major concern on our liquor store is snow things. With these panels, make it worse, better, nobody knows.
Maybe I'll let Jess talk about that.
So you have like snow buildup on the roof, or?
It falls off.
Oh, it falls
Slides
off?
You
Okay.
have snow, the railings or the snow gates or whatever, but it's terrible. And I'm
Right.
concerned that with these, it's gonna go over top of that, Do you use anything, like a snow gate or anything to slow it down, or?
Yeah, so the panels, when they're generating, so anytime there's sunlight touching the panels, they're gonna heat up a little bit and melt things off. And so, in order to slow that down, putting like a snow gate on there, that could help.
How high off the roof are these?
There's gonna be about a 4-inch air gap. So, so that would be about what to expect. So whether it's going to improve that situation or make it worse, I really couldn't tell you.
I'm just afraid it's gonna be worse with that, because it's gonna go over it.
Well, could you install a snow guard higher up on the panel, like on the panel surface itself, or a higher one so that it slows down a little bit more?
Yeah, we can certainly install a snow guard on there. And those are something that I don't think would add any cost really to that.
I just
They're
want to be
not
assured that
very
it doesn't
expensive.
cause any more issue, because we have enough issue with that roof. It's a beautiful roof too, so
Yeah, yep.
But,
Yeah, that's certainly a concern. I mean, you don't want snow just flying off your roof.
off the south side,
Yeah.
not a big deal, but on the east side, where the main entrance is very crucial.
Sure, on the east side,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I would say a snow guard on that east side. I mean, it's like a $400 snow guard. They're not anything major. So.
During installation, is this going to hinder sales? Will the front door always be accessible to the public?
Very busy business.
Yeah.
There you go.
In my experience, our installation doesn't really impact normal operations.
Okay.
I mean, we've installed on schools that were in session, so they'll have to be off to one side, and there'll be, as they're kind of screwing the components of the racking together, there'll be some noise. But as far as blocking your entrance, that shouldn't affect anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
When do they do all that on the roof, or do they do that prior and then lift it up?
Typically, it's assembled on the roof. Yep. There's not a whole lot to assemble, to be honest. It'll be some clamps that go on, and then the rails, which those rails will probably be about 14 feet long, that they'll kind of put into the clamps. So it's very minimal assembly. But it takes, I would estimate this installation, other than the electrical tie-in part, but the actual on the roof installation, likely be about 3 days.
I have a question regarding that. You said during peak operation or whatever, they're heat generating, right? They're gonna make some melt in the winter.
Yes.
And then when they're not generating, as we get closer to dusk and through over the night, do you get icing? I mean, re-icing problems? And what happens with that?
Yeah, so the times when we see icing on them is when we get a really bad ice storm. So if there's, we got a day of just straight ice storm, it's super cold, but we're, getting things frozen on that, then we'll see it ice over. But other than that, we don't.
No ice damming of any kind?
No, you won't see any ice damming. It'll be usually just a flat sheet of ice that'll happen if there is an ice storm. And then it might take a couple of days of sunlight to, in the wintertime, we don't have as many hours of sun, so it could take a couple of days to get that fully melted off. But you won't see any ice damming, no. Yeah.
How do you attach to the roof?
So these, it's a clamp that's gonna go onto the standing seam, and then there's rails, it's like a foot, and then the rails attach to the feet across the roof. And then the panels screw onto the rails. So there's gonna be two rails for each row of panels to hold them on there.
What's the weight?
Each panel, each panel itself weighs about 50 pounds.
The thing that Ben said, we were in
Yeah.
Hoffman presenting
Yep.
last night, and so he said it's about 3 pounds per square foot.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not very heavy. I mean, I could pick one up and put it over my head if I had to, so they're just big.
Yeah, awkward shape.
Yeah, they're big.
Is there a completed system similar like to what you're?
Morris Liquor Store. The Morris Liquor Store, Morris City Hall, Morris Community Center, and Morris Library installed 150 kilowatts, and they did it before tax incentives were available. So they did it,
At the
when they
wrong
did their
time?
project, they did it without this extra $23,000. So they did it with a much less favorable cash flow. They're gonna be cash flow positive after 10 years of operation. This is cash flow positive after a year and a half, because we get that extra tax credit. But that's probably the closest example would be Morris. Or the City Hall in Hewitt, Minnesota has solar.
Any other questions?
The liquor store is such a beautiful roof, I'm just not into the solar stuff. It's not pretty, I mean.
These ones, it'll be, so the panels that we have on this proposal, they're not like the blue and silver type panels that you normally would think of. It's just a flat black. So it's just gonna look like a sheet of black on there. And it is a pretty roof, but it's not like the blue and silver panels that you see, when you generally think of solar panels. These ones are designed to be, aesthetically pleasing as much as they can be. So it'll just be just a flat, like, sheet of black, I guess.
When you throw a 40-year thing around, that makes me nervous.
Well, and the 40-year thing too, I mean, that's not to say that they're gonna be junk after 40 years. That's to say that they're gonna maintain that 88% capacity to 40 years. But let's say you have a 500-watt panel, and it still has 88% of its capacity in 40 years. It's still producing over 450 watts of power. So I think that's the other thing too, is like, yeah, it could be 40 years, but it could also be 50 or 60. They could last that long and produce power and save the city money. So the 181,000 that we have on here, that's the minimum, because if you go longer than 40 years, you're gonna keep saving money.
What happens towards the end of life on these? What can a person expect outside the warranty for maintenance and upkeep?
Yeah, I can speak to that. The panels themselves, you know, there is no maintenance on the panels other than if they, the biggest, I tell people the biggest maintenance for your solar panels is keep your trees trimmed. Because if your trees grow over, that's going to be the biggest detractor from performance. You know, the panels themselves, there's really nothing to go wrong. It's just as they generate energy, they start to degrade because they're using up a little bit of the materials inside of the panels to generate that energy. Beyond 40 years, you know, the generation may start to decline a little bit year by year as they typically do. Replacing them, these panels, they're pretty standard. And so who knows what the technology will be 40 years from now. But you know, can pretty much just replace them with whatever is on the market. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Won't be my problem.
Yeah.
You know, as far as the 40 years, we have a lot bigger things we're going to replace in 40 years than the solar panels.
Yeah, there isn't really anything to go wrong with them. They just start kind of degrading over time, and that's what happens with them. So that's kind of the beauty of solar is it's just pretty low
Right.
maintenance.
Would our city crews have to be doing anything up there? You don't have to.
We're not going to.
Yeah, the rain cleans them off. There's nothing they need to do. I mean,
On that note, let's say 5 years down the road, we have a leaky roof up there and we find it's underneath the solar panel. How do you access it, or can you walk on these things and remove a panel to get to it?
yeah, yep, the panels can be removed. We've had some situations where like a customer wanted to, you know, access a spot underneath their panels and we just came and pulled them up. You know, we're happy to help out, but they do just come right up. I shouldn't say come right up, but they do come off, so you don't have to take all of them down to access one spot of the roof. So, it would involve like, you would want to have an electrician involved or just give us a call, because you do need to turn the system off before you pull one up, but.
What about pests, since it is on top of a standing seam roof? Squirrels, birds, you know, everything likes to get in under things and build things.
Yeah, so the outside of on the edges of the panels, we can put a guard around the whole thing, which is for pests. And that's certainly something that can be done. Sometimes it's just more of a screen than anything. I haven't had anybody call us up and ask us to put one up, so it doesn't seem to be a super common problem. But if it's something you're worried about, 100%, that's available. It's a product out there that can be put around, but it's not something we've ever had someone say, I think we need this because it's a problem, so.
When I was in Morris, we didn't have any issues with it, and yeah, we had various different installation types. We had installation types that were even more prone to it. We didn't have any issues with it, so.
Question, last time you were here, you said it's American made, but no, it's not?
Yeah, so part of that change was because we can't put solar on the west side of the roof because it's so shaded. If the city owned the property that has the trees on it, you could hypothetically cut them down and we could put solar there. But it's the house behind the liquor store that owns those trees. And so you wouldn't have the rights to go in and cut those trees down. And so we decided to go with, we decided to just do the east side of the roof. Now, because of the way the roof is shaped, the domestic content panels are bigger. They're 4 by 8 feet, whereas these panels are a little bit smaller. And so there were smaller panels that qualified for the domestic content bonus. However, they added more than 10% to the total cost. And so it negates the 10% credit you would get. And so in this case, if we had done the American-made panels, you would have had a longer payoff than what we're quoting here, likely 2.5 years instead of 1.5 years. And so, but that doesn't.
And a shorter warranty.
And a shorter warranty,
Yeah.
a 12-year product warranty and a 25-year performance guarantee over the 40-year warranties. The other thing too is that it doesn't mean that it doesn't have US workers that have touched it. It just refers to the actual material inside the panel, the raw materials, and where they came from. So the raw materials could have been imported from around the world, but the panel itself was still slightly assembled in the US. And the other piece of it is that all the steel and all of the glass and everything else that isn't the silica that it generates the electricity is American made. So it's really tricky also to hit the domestic content bonuses because it has to be the actual raw material and not just the finished product. So like you could take silica out of Mexico and then make a solar cell in America, but the raw material would be from Mexico. And so unless we have silica reserves in the US, it's hard to make like silica for panels from US silica because that market just doesn't really exist. But we tried our best to get domestic content on as many of the projects. So I think there's this one and one other one out of the 10 that we worked on where we weren't able to do the domestic content. But trust me, I was working with Ben and Jess on it because we were like, I want the domestic content, because I think it's important. But it added more than 10% to the total cost. So then it didn't make sense because you wouldn't recoup the cost through that you would get by meeting that bonus credit.
Yeah, the rails, so the mounting, the racking, that is all American made and would qualify for the domestic content, bonus. And the inverters, those are they also qualify for that domestic content. But the panels themselves do not. So most of it is American made, but the panels themselves were the one piece that didn't qualify for that 10%.
And it changes every year. So like
Yeah.
in 2024, it was 40% of the content had to be from America. And then this year it's 45%. And next year it's 50%. And the year after it's 55%. And so it's, going up over time. So it's not getting easier to meet that bonus either.
Any other questions? We've
How
asked
do we
a
know
bunch.
they're competitive with, how do we know they're competitive?
So we did
Somewhere else.
we did a public RFP process. So we got bids from 10 different contractors across the state of Minnesota. And we put together a committee of primarily city administrators and a mayor from a small town in the region of members of the cohort. And then we got together and sat down on a call for 4 hours and dug through every single proposal. And then we all scored them. And then based on our scores, Holston was the best option. There was another company that was quoting, so their price per watt, which is how we talk about this, their price per watt was $217 per watt. When I came here and presented, the model that I was presenting was $275 a watt. We did receive a couple quotes for $199 a watt, but the reason we didn't choose them, do you want to know why? Chinese made solar panels. So we chose the people who are going to offer us the most of the domestic content. So we only found out about the panel change on your roof when we came and did the site visit, because we saw, this tree is not going to work. Where on satellite, you're not able to necessarily see that because it's not showing the shading on the roof.
Okay, good question, Steve. Any other questions?
Is there any kind of advantages in power outages with a solar panel? There's no change?
Not as of now. Couple things I'll mention on that. The tax credit, the 30% tax credit for energy storage is not being phased out, so that'll be available through 2032. And cities will be able to take advantage of that. So this proposal does not include a storage option, but that's something you could add in the future, and definitely something I know the Department of Commerce is working on building out grant programs to help give grants to communities to buy batteries. And if your building already has solar on it, that's half the puzzle too. So it would make your city more competitive in applying for those sorts of grants. So not right now, it wouldn't help with outages, but it could. And given the lifespan of the system, in 10 years, if you decided, hey, we want to put batteries in, that would be possible.
Anything else, Lance? What's the council like to do?
181,000 is a good savings. 181,000 is a good savings.
It's a quick turnaround on the
Yeah,
investment.
the turnaround is impressive.
There isn't another project in the state that has this turnaround.
Yeah, okay.
And it won't be like this in the future because the incentives are starting to go away in the future. So if we pushed it off a year, it would not be a 17-month payoff.
What did Hoffman decide? What are they
Hoffman
doing?
said yes, it was unanimous.
And what are they doing?
They're putting it on their EDA building. So it's the building that has the senior center, the school, the food shelf, the low-income apartments, and the gymnasium. And so they're putting 40 kilowatts on that building. And I haven't checked my phone, but we have our colleagues are in New York Mills presenting right now, and we were expecting that one to be a yes. And then after this, I'm driving to Battle Lake, where I'll be presenting my third council meeting in 2 days.
Whoa.
Okay,
I think
Ready to
Shelley
make a
made a motion.
I think so. Thought it was.
Yeah.
There you go.
should we move forward? Okay, we have a motion, is there a second?
I know you love solar. I want you to be part of
I
this.
know,
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Motion second, discussion. 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 Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Lance. You'll be hearing from us soon with information on the loan and contract from Jess. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move down to item number 10, Southwest Lots, and I think Lance and probably Jordan are going to talk about that.
Yeah, so this was presented to the planning commission last week. These are the 3 parcels that were reconveyed back to the state. They're now in county hands. I was under the understanding that when Wayne Stein was still here, this was taken care of, but it was not. The bottom line is, if we were to get these lots, if we were to buy these lots back for anything under market value, we'd have to use them for affordable housing. So the planning commission is recommending that we buy these 2 parcels here out by Old Fergus Road. That's what we'll need to do the plotting of the lots and things. There'll be 7 different lots here. So those are the parcels that we need to get that preliminary plat done. So they recommend that we buy those back for market value, which is a total of $18,600, I believe, for the 2. And then this 3rd parcel over here, recommend just getting that one back for $1 or under their market value for $1, and just continue that as stormwater retention.
Could you clarify they?
The planning commission?
They buy it?
Well, I think Jordan would like the EDA to pick it up, and she can talk a little bit about what she would like.
Jordan, you want to address the microphone, please?
The planning commission, and I have discussed the EDA purchasing this with EDA funds, and then any revenue off of sales stays with the EDA. So there's money in the budget to cover the purchase of these 3. So parcel ending in 6,000 would be market rate, parcel ending in 8,000 would be market rate, parcel ending in 7,000 would be for $1.
Council?
So Lance, this would be good.
You agree? Commission thought so. Yeah, it's very restrictive on the affordable housing piece. It would really restrict who can buy them and things. So we're hoping to get 7 lots in there. The preliminary plat would be to the planning commission the end of July here. So there'll be seven lots. So
Average lots ready to build on generally sell for, or is that where we give it to a builder to develop? Is that what we're talking about
I
here?
think either option, probably the first is more realistic. I think Lance was crunching some numbers and I was watching him. I think
I'm just looking at.
we were thinking
Recoup of funds.
5,000 or 6,000 as like the lowest sale price, so that's still really affordable for a lot that you can build a single family home on. And I would think that with work from the ADA and planning, we could come up with like a good base number to negotiate a bit.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? 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 Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Did you need, what about the other lot? The other parcel?
That's,
That's all part of that, okay. Okay, moving on, item number 12, People Service, PFAS Service Agreement, which is in the packet, Lance.
did we miss 11?
Oh, well, I guess I did. Number 11, Rental Inspection Service Agreement, which is in the packet. I've been skipping around here so much. Whichever one you want to talk about.
This is just a continuation of the last few. There's a little more information in on the renters and the landlords in town. I'd like to know how you'd like to move forward, if you want to move forward with this rental inspection services agreement. Any questions or?
Did we entertain any more about figuring out if we can get somebody certified and free them up enough to do this stuff, or like we talked about, a part-time employee?
That's a possibility.
We don't know.
I mean, like I said, there's actually no certification that's needed, but that's a possibility.
Well, what do you think? What,
Sid's been doing it for years, and it's kind of nice to have that outside party come in and get it done. Maybe a little bit higher than other communities right now, but
we'll go with it now and then revisit it if need be?
Yeah.
That next contract?
Yeah.
yeah.
I move to approve his contract.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion? 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 Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carried.
But on the same note, just like to visit, so we talked about how it's been a struggle to get some of these landlords to get these inspections done. We talked about our like our late fee or our penalty fee for this right now is $100. If they don't get it done by that January 1, it's $100 plus $10 each additional week. It's been discussed some, maybe entertain the fact of increasing it to 500, and it might help incentivize everyone to get that done by January 1.
And if they didn't, what is our recourse? If they just ignored it?
We talked about doing the citation right away January
Okay.
1 rather than waiting.
I make a motion to go that route.
A second.
So
Motion,
plus $10 each additional week.
And then a citation.
yeah, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? 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 Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carried. Okay, I knew we'd get to number 12, People Service PFAS Agreement.
All right, so this has to do with that PFAS source identification grant we got from the Minnesota Department of Health. People Service helped us get that grant, and now they have this agreement to help us kind of do everything that we need to. I think we laid out in the grant that what they said we were going to do. They're going to help us do all these things. So some of these things, like the influence sampling that the state has done in the past, we'll be continuing that. This grant will help pay for that. And People Service will do it. The biosolids sampling is something new now this year. We have to sample our biosolids before we spread them out onto the fields. So this grant will help do that. And fee-for-service as part of this agreement will do that for us. And then our SIU with the turkey plant, that'll help sample and test their effluent, and try and nail down where this PFAS is coming from. And then all these other PFAS, the PMP plan, the pollutant management plan that we have, the PFAS pollutant management plan, the action items in there, they'll help us execute all of those. So this is just the agreement with them to help us complete all these things and that are covered under this grant, so.
Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and second, discussion, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carried. Item number 13, Houston Engineering pay request for $24,295.75. That was in the packet, Lance?
Yeah, this has to do with the Little Rock Rapids project out down by the Legion building. This will all get reimbursed. We'll send in a reimbursement request to the DNR. It's kind of the whole dam project. This is a kind of extension of that. So we'll do it like we have. This is our 22nd or 23rd request. So it'll all be reimbursed. They are planning on hopefully starting this project this fall and completing it this fall. But they're waiting on permits as well, so we'll see. It might not be till spring, but this would all be reimbursed by the DNR, so.
Motion to
I
approve.
move to approve Houston.
There's second.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion carried. Item number 14, Feld Plumbing and Excavating pay request number 2, final, which is in the packet. Lance?
This is the storm water project up on Pelican Pete's up there on 2nd Avenue Southeast. That project got completed last year, but there was a little bit of work and things that got completed this spring, and we're ready to close it out. So this is to pay the rest of pay everything and close out the project, the maintenance and everything. Everything is complete and done. Specs.
Move to approve.
There's second.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carried. Item number 15, Park and Streets Report. Superintendent Olson, we haven't forgot you.
You hadn't, thank you. All right. What we're going to start out with, you guys like to make decisions, so we're going to start out with a decision tonight. Last spring, when they started the construction project, they paved Great Northern Road. Now, we have a decision if we want to keep it or if we want them to mill it up. And my feeling has been, it really has held up okay. There's a couple spots that will need to have a patch or two, but for the most part, the road did not break up as bad as I thought it was going to. I thought it was really going to be cracked up, but it really didn't. There was normal cracking, and it just so there's the one spot down right by Carfield that got a little bad. But so I believe if we keep it, it's our baby to maintain. The end of August, they'll be bringing in a milling machine, and if we don't want it, we'll have them mill it up again. So turn it back to dirt. So I'm basically putting it on you to.
Yeah. I know I've had several comments from the public that really love it.
They do, yeah.
And it'll have a lot lighter traffic.
Yeah, definitely.
With no construction project
Definitely.
going on, so longevity might be a thing.
There's where it's broke up, we kind of, the water likes to pond there and it can't get out, so we've tried to work on that a little bit, and we'll have to look closer at that if we decide to keep it before we repatch that area.
I move to keep the road.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
Perfect.
Motion carried.
That's all I needed. No, I'm kidding. No.
Maintenance costs should be saved by Dust Guard now anyway.
What's that?
Yeah.
Save the maintenance costs won't be at any more
On
expensive
dust
than a
guard,
dust
right.
guard, yeah.
Yeah. Maintenance on the street end, that's pretty much what we've been doing. A lot of maintenance, fixing things, maintaining, trying to do a little bit of maintenance on the parade route coming up this week. Got our alleys bladed. Today, we got gravel and dust guard all in the same day. That's a first in 20 years, so that was exciting. Parks end of it, campground continues to be busy almost every weekend. Something's going on. We are installing new park signs. You'll see them pop up. I think right now we just have the one at Unity Park in. Parks we're preparing for the weekend, the car show and everything else is going. The pool has been unbelievable. I had Danielle run reports to date. Swimming lessons, it appears we've had 87 kids sign up for swimming lessons, which is really good. Our daily passes, family passes, we've had 35. Single daily passes for just regular kids is 865. So that's throughout since we opened. Adult seasonal passes, we've had 12. Children seasonal passes, we've had 16. And family passes, we've had 63. So those, I think, makes it worth having a pool. That, I mean, you get that many families signing up, that's everybody. You know, that's not the 835 that have paid every day to come to the pool. That's, you know, they're coming all the time. So if you've been by there at all, it has been super busy, and it's a good thing.
Staffing isn't an issue?
No, I mean, there's been days where we've had to have the water slide closed just because we didn't have that attendant, but way fewer than anticipated with the 11. But so with that, talking about swimming lessons, I need to hire a WSI, a water safety instructor, and I would like to recommend we hire Sarah Lindberg at a rate of $20 an hour to teach swimming lessons for us. So I'll need a motion to hire her. She's new. She's not one of the lifeguards
Right, yeah.
from before. She's a new WSI that we found after. We were very concerned we weren't going to have swimming lessons for a while, so.
Do you have anything after this?
Nope.
Okay, so then we can have a motion to hire Sarah and also accept Brian's report as one.
Yep.
Motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Motion second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank
She
you.
started yesterday, by the way, so I'm glad you hired her.
Going down to item number 16, Administrator Report, Lance.
Right, since the last meeting, attended a department head meeting, met weekly with the ordinance committee, attended the weekly 59-108 construction and public meetings, worked with SEH and Ellsworth on Monarch and Wells work at the lagoons, attended an Otter Tail County workforce convening meeting, worked with Otter Tail County on the reconveyance of the Southwest property, attended a planning commission meeting, met with Otter Tail Power about possible rebates for the equipment at the pool and wastewater treatment plant and water plant. Worked with Jack Rosenthal, Boundary Pro on the preliminary plat of the Southwest property and on an easement for the parcel on 3rd Street Southwest. Worked with the Country Service Cooperative Technology on converting to Office 365. Met with Greg Stang of People Service about the lagoon work needed and drafted a letter in response to the MPCA's letter of warning. Met with an MPCA representative about the PFAS source identification grant and met with Apex Engineering about the capital improvement plan. I do have one invitation here. So on Thursday in Detroit Lakes at the Holiday Inn, there's the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities is hosting a regional meeting from 5 to 7. So if anybody's interested, let me know. I'm planning on going, so. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lance. Item number 17, Mayor's Report, just a few items since the last council meeting. Attended two different city ordinance meetings, two different 2025 Complete Street staff meetings, and also facilitated two public meetings regarding that project, conversations with the mayor at the library on June 27th. attended an emergency management meeting here at City Hall with Chief Quaintance on June 22nd, attended the Rebel Shed open house. Also then met with Administrator Royson this afternoon to plan the agenda for this afternoon's meeting. Any questions?
You forgot the cleanup.
Oh, the cleanup, yeah, very good. Councilman Strand and I, is anyone else, participated in the community cleanup last week.
How did that go? Was it well attended, or was it the two of you?
No, there was
Oh, they were like.
half a dozen.
6.
Yeah. Nice.
Any questions?
I had a thing.
Okay, seeing no other business, or motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Meeting adjourned.